Hello, and welcome to this week's Business Transformation 101 podcast. I am your host, Bill Fegis. In 2020, the level of serious discussions going on about diversity, equity, and inclusion in the U.S. has exploded. This podcast will delve into this topic with a focus on diversity in today's businesses, and more specifically, diversity of business leadership teams. Change starts at the top, so transforming diversity in the leadership ranks will drive transformation down through the entire organization. There has been a lot done over the past 55 years following President Lyndon Johnson's signing of the Civil Rights Act of 1964, the Voting Rights Act of 1965, and the Civil Rights Act of 1968 to address diversity. While this has resulted in some improvement in diversity, there is still a lot of work to be done, including in business leadership. While there is a lot of rhetoric out there about addressing this issue, there has been significantly less discussion of concrete plans to effectively address the issue. As prior Business Transformation 101 podcasts have stressed, implementing robust processes is the key to driving and maintaining transformation, and this transformation is no exception. Classic problem-solving tools need to be applied to this issue, and the first step is to define the problem. The problem statement for today's podcast is diversity in the business workplace at all levels is not in line with diversity of the general U.S. population. While it is not clear if there has been widespread use of problem-solving techniques in the past on this problem, the past cannot be changed, and everyone needs to be looking forward. Historically, either root causes were not identified or misidentified, and or appropriate countermeasures were not put in place to eliminate the root causes. It is likely there were shortcomings in both categories. The approach taken in this podcast was inspired by a LinkedIn posting by Victor Swint, CEO of Techomet. The LinkedIn posting was about a study recently published by John Rice, the CEO and founder of MLT.org, and the Boston Consulting Group. The article or study was entitled, "The Real Reason Diversity is Lacking at the Top." The study focused on identifying root causes for consultants in management consulting businesses falling off the promotional track. Thanks to John for providing some great inputs and insight, and to Victor for making the introduction to John. The results of this study provide an opportunity to step back and evaluate the root causes and implement new effective countermeasures. A good place to start is to understand that addressing this problem requires breakthrough thinking and breakthrough objectives. This problem will not be solved in 1 or 2 years and will not be solved by incremental improvements. Business leaders must make addressing this problem a long-term strategic objective and implement a rigorous process-oriented approach, such as strategy deployment, to ensure the problem is solved and success is sustained. John Rice indicated that some companies are making progress in diversity, but currently there are no companies he would consider benchmark. Given that there are no benchmark companies to emulate on diversity performance, an example strategy deployment is constructed here to illustrate one potential approach to addressing the problem statement. To simplify the example, the diversity focuses on the Black and Latino segments, which together make up approximately 33% of the US population. The analysis and actions discussed, however, would apply to other diversity segments of the US population as well. Assume the leadership team for XYZ Inc., a small cap US company with 1,000 employees, is interested in transforming the diversity of their senior leadership team. The CEO has 8 direct reports, and each of those individuals has 5 direct reports. This means the senior leadership team consists of 49 individuals, which we will round up to 50 to simplify this example. The XYZ leadership team currently mirrors the diversity mix of the Fortune 500, which breaks down as follows, based upon data from the 16 Fortune 500 companies that report diversity detail at this level. There would be 1 Black Latino female, which means there'd be 2% of the group would be in this category. There would be 4 Black Latino males, or 8% of the leadership team. There would be 8 non-Black Latino females, which would make up 16% of the leadership team. And finally, there would be 37 non-Black/Latino males, making up 74% of the leadership team. This breakdown comes out to 10% Black Latino and 18% female, which will be used to characterize XYZ's current state. Per the 2019 US Census Bureau data, the current US population is approximately 51% women and 33% Black/Latino. This means the 50 individuals on the XYZ senior leadership team would break down as follows if the demographics of the team match those of the US general population. There would be 8 Black Latino females, making up 16% of the leadership team, 8 Black Latino males, also making up 16% of the leadership team. There would be 17 non-Black Latino females, making up 34% of the team. And finally, 17 non-Black Latino males, making up 34% of the leadership team. This breakdown, which is 32% Black Latino and 50% female, will serve as the target future state for XYZ. XYZ's breakthrough objective is to move from the current state to the target future state. This requires transforming at least 20 of the 50 or 40% of the senior leadership positions. Given the typical tenure of individuals in these positions, achieving this change in 5 years would be a stretch goal, requiring approximately 4 positions to be transitioned on average each year. This chart shows how the diversity would shift over the 5-year period. Based upon the analysis, the team defined the 5-year strategic breakthrough objective as senior leadership of the company achieves the same diversity demographics as the general US population by 2026. The year one annual strategic breakthrough objective should be set to support the trajectory required to meet the 5-year strategic breakthrough objective. During year one, several processes will need to be improved or created to support the 5-year trajectory. So the team elects to set the annual strategic breakthrough objective as increase the percentage of Black Latino leadership team members from 10% to 16%, and the percentage of female leadership team members from 18 to 22% by year end. This objective will require moving at least 3 positions to diversity individuals as shown here. The year one objective would result in the demographic mix shown by the end of year one. This shows the progress in year one of the 5-year transformation objective. The team must identify the critical processes that will drive the business from the current state to the annual breakthrough objective. Improvement priorities define the critical processes to be addressed in year one. Typically, these priorities address root causes that are barriers to achieving the annual objective. John Rice pointed out that one of the root causes for the lack of diversity is a failure to source a diverse slate of candidates to be considered for an open leadership position. There's been a lot of discussion in the media about the candidate pipeline being a possible impediment to expanding diversity. Based upon data from the National Science Foundation, as well as other sources, this appears to be a red herring. The NSF data shows approximately 22% of college graduates are Black and Hispanic. This is consistent with the demographics of the US general population. About 56% of college graduates are female, which is also consistent with the US general population demographics. The first root cause to address is poor access to diversity of the candidate sourcing pipeline. The hiring teams are not seeing diverse slates of viable candidates, even though the candidate pipeline diversity mirrors that of the US general population. The improvement priority to address this root cause is to revise the candidate sourcing process to ensure a candidate pool that reflects the diversity of the U.S. population. The team will improve the existing candidate sourcing process or create a new candidate sourcing process that presents a diversified slate of A-player candidates to the hiring team for every open leadership position. This slate will include internal plus external candidates as appropriate. Volume 2 of this series, entitled Who to Select for Your Team, outlined a process for creating position specifications and scorecards to assess candidates against. Volume 3, How to Interview for A Players, provided a structured interview process which will minimize or eliminate diversity-related biases. Volume 4, A Robust Talent Acquisition Process, described standard work for talent acquisition. This process could be improved by adding appropriate quality checks to ensure diversity was a critical component of the decision-making process in hiring. This graphic shows the first improvement priority, addressing the annual breakthrough objective. At the beginning of this podcast, a study done by John Rice and the Boston Consulting Group was referenced. This study identified 5 root causes that fueled 8 challenges, which explained why some consultants are not promoted. This study focused specifically on the management consulting industry. This analysis assumes that it is extendable to leadership challenges in many industries. The study identified 5 root causes, with 3 of the root causes adversely impacting all consultants equally. The other 2 root causes had a larger adverse impact on ethically diverse consultants. Since the objective is to increase diversity of the leadership team, the focus was to define improvement priorities for the 2 root causes that more heavily impact diversity individuals. Based on this study and those root causes, the second root cause to address is weak sense of belonging. A sense of belonging includes feeling socially connected, supported, and respected, as well as feeling appreciated as an individual rather than being stereotyped, confidence in one's value proposition to others, and capable of advancing to the next level. To address this root cause, the improvement priority is to create a mentoring process that effectively addresses diversity differences. A mentoring process would provide each individual with an assigned mentor from the senior leadership team. The mentor would help the individual build a sense of belonging with the leadership team as well as with the broader organization. This priority would also give the individual with root cause 3 by providing guidance in navigating the company's culture and political environment. This graphic shows the second improvement priority, addressing the annual breakthrough objective. The third root cause, which was also identified in the study, is difficulty navigating professional environments. Navigating a professional environment includes adapting to a firm's culture and norms, power structures, internal politics, and expectations for promotion. The improvement priority to address this third root cause is create an onboarding process that ensures all individuals are successfully integrated into the company's culture and organization. An effective onboarding process would assist the individual in understanding the company's culture, politics, and power structure. This introduction to the company would be a series of team meetings and one-on-one meetings over the first 100 days of the candidate's employment to integrate the individual into the company. This graphic shows the third and final improvement priority, addressing the annual breakthrough objective. As you can see, there's 3 improvement priorities associated with driving to the annual breakthrough objective. Each improvement priority will have a set of action plans. The progress on these action plans will be measured by the TTIs, or targets to improve, associated with the priority. There are 2 TTIs associated with the first improvement priority of revising the candidate sourcing process. First, the team is to develop and deploy a candidate sourcing process and scorecard for sourcing partners by the 1st of July, 2021, that includes diversity expectations, including metrics and goals, and ties these expectations to awarding a future business to the sourcing partner. Second, for the second half of 2021, each open senior leadership position will have a slate of interview-ready candidates that includes 25% Black Latino candidates and 50% female candidates. There are also 2 TTIs for the second improvement priority of creating a mentoring process. The first is to develop and deploy a mentoring process and scorecard that requires the CEO and all CEO direct reports to have at least one mentee assigned to them, and all senior leadership diversity members have been assigned a mentor by the 1st of July, 2021. The second TTI is at year end of 2021, mentees will provide a scorecard for their respective mentors' performance and have a scorecard review meeting in January 2022 that includes the mentee, the mentor, the VP of HR, and a third-party HR mentoring consultant. Finally, there are 2 TTIs measuring the third improvement priority of creating an onboarding process. First, the team needs to create and deploy a structured 100-day onboarding process by the 1st of July, 2021 that exposes a new hire to the company's culture, strategy, norms, business structure through one-on-one days with the CEO and each CEO direct report. Also has participation in Kaizen events and third-party coaching. Second, by the third quarter of 2021, all senior leadership diversity members go through the 100-day onboarding process. By year end, the diversity members provide a report out to the senior leadership team on the value of the onboarding process and recommended modifications to provide excellent value to the participants. To create accountability, each improvement priority has one clear leader. In addition to identifying the leader, the team identifies key secondary resources as appropriate for each improvement priority. The leadership team needs to balance resource allocation to ensure daily management maintains and incrementally improves the foundation of the business, while simultaneously achieving the diversity annual strategic breakthrough objective through the improvement priorities, along with any other annual strategic breakthrough objectives that the team has chosen to pursue. The CEO and the CEO's direct reports should lead from the front by being the leaders on these improvement priorities. They should ensure the team working on each improvement priority is cross-functional. As earlier noted, achievement of the 5-year strategic breakthrough objective, annual strategic breakthrough objective, and strategic improvement priorities will require the engagement of the entire organization. It is something the company does not know how to do, as is evident by the current state diversity being misaligned with the general population. It is important to utilize the structured strategy deployment process to align the organization and communicate expectations. The strategy deployment matrix, as shown here, is a simple, powerful tool to visually communicate the objectives, improvement priorities, and resources. The matrix lists the 5-year strategic breakthrough objective, the annual strategic breakthrough objective, the improvement priorities, the targets to improve, and the responsible resources that were all defined as part of this process. The solid and open dots tie these elements together and show the flow of logic for the elements. For resources, the solid dots denote the leader assigned to the improvement priority, and the open dots denote secondary or support responsibility. This matrix, along with the charts that track monthly progress on the targets to improve, are shared with the organization monthly, so everyone is aligned and up to date on progress in achieving the annual objective. Any unfavorable variance from the action plans and their associated TTIs will trigger a root cause countermeasure that will be employed to bring the action plan back on goal. For many organizations, transforming the diversity of the senior leadership team will be challenging. A few analogies might provide some insight that could help overcome barriers to achieving the breakthrough objectives. For example, safety is a critical aspect of all businesses. Everyone in any organization wants to be safe and ensure all their teammates are safe. There are many approaches to improving safety and driving to a zero incidence goal, but eventually it will require everyone embracing a safety culture. Getting to zero requires building a safety culture that is dependent upon safe behaviors from everyone in the organization. These safe behaviors must extend beyond work hours to everyday life. If an individual practices unsafe behavior outside of work hours, it is unlikely they will effectively and consistently switch to safe behaviors during working hours. This means safe behaviors must be developed and built with a 24/7 mindset. Building effective diversity is analogous to building effective safety. Everyone needs to practice positive diversity behaviors 24/7 and not just during work hours. The senior leadership team needs to keep this concept in front of the organization to increase the probability of successfully achieving diversity. Another example is successful implementation of lean processes in business. Implementation is dependent upon the senior leadership team believing in the lean approach and building a culture around that approach. Seeding the organization with passionate, experienced lean practitioners will accelerate any company's transition from a classic old school batch-oriented business to a high-performance, one-piece flow business. This same concept applies to transforming diversity. Seeding the organization with diversity A players across functional areas can jumpstart the transformation and more quickly achieve the goal of company diversity being on par with the general population diversity. To summarize, the world is changing and demographic shifts are part of that change in the US and outside the US. Companies need to embrace the change and transform the diversity of their organizations to reflect the diversity found in the general population. This transformation will not be easy, but true transformations are never easy. The key to a successful transformation is focusing on the data and facts and using them to effectively address the emotions and divisiveness that will swirl around the transformation process. Use the facts and data to build robust processes that will drive the transformation and sustain the changes. Strategy deployment, as shown in this example, is one approach to leading the transformation. Use the strategy deployment process to drive your transformation, or use an approach that is more comfortable to your experience. In either case, stop the rhetoric and talk and take action to make the transformation a reality. We have included here on this slide a list of references to allow you to expand your insight on this topic. In the interest of continuous improvement, I invite feedback from our listeners. Please share your thoughts and ideas on these weekly podcasts, and feel free to suggest topics which you believe would provide useful information for you and our listeners. Thank you for listening to today's podcast, and please join us next week when we will present a primer on lean principles.